Good morning. I call the Audit and Risk Management Committee meeting of the Arizona Board of Regents to order. Patty, can you please confirm we have a quorum?
We do right now.
That's a beautiful thing. The committee is expected to adjourn its meeting at approximately 12:30. I bet we're faster. At the end of this executive session, live stream of the public meeting is available to the public on youtube.com at the ABOR Live link. Is there anyone participating virtually yet? Don't see David, so we're good. All right. Don't see anybody. Susanna, I'm going to ask that.
Oh, Suzanne's not here. So
Okay, we don't have anybody on, right?
correct. Nobody besides those that are ready for.
Got it. Okay. The key items on the agenda today include the following. Approval of minutes from our previous committee, public, and executive session meetings, and an update from the university's enterprise risk management programs. Our first order of business, however, is the approval of minutes, namely the minutes from the executive sessions on June 6, 2024, and August 29, 2024, and the public session on January 30th, 2025. Are there any questions or comments related to the minutes? All right. I move the committee approve the minutes from the executive sessions on June 6, 2024, August 29, 2024, and the minutes from the public session on January 30th, 2025. Audit and Risk Management Committee meetings. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Passes. Our next item is a report on the university's enterprise risk management programs. Brad Kendricks from the ABOR office will introduce this discussion. Brad, it's all yours.
Thank you, Chair. So, Regents, we're here today again to continue our ongoing conversation about the universities, both their risk exposure and the work that they're doing to mitigate that risk and plan for the future. So, as part of the board's policies, the universities need to come forward and address on a couple of matters. So, back in January, we had the universities come forward and talk about their work on their current year audit plans to help to manage operational and financial risks in the current year. Now we've asked them to come back and talk about their enterprise risk management strategies, including the work that they've done this spring in order to categorize and plan for the largest risks that the university faces at this time, so that they can use that feedback and build it into their planning processes and into their financial and operational audit plans for the upcoming year. So we've asked the teams to come forward today, and with your permission, I'd like to invite ASU first, Morgan Olson and team, to come forward and talk with us. But again, this is a bridge that will then connect us to the conversations in May and June around the actual audit planning for the next cycle. Thank you, Chair.
You bet. Brad, thank you. Morgan, team assembling. Once you're settled, you're on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. So happy to talk with you about what we're doing in the area of enterprise risk management today. I'd like to emphasize that it is very much a team activity. You see members of the team to my right here, Mike Anderson, who is Assistant Vice President for Enterprise Risk and Resilience Management, and Lester Godsey, who is our Chief Information Security Officer. We have other members of the team in the room, including Rudy Bellavia, who's our Vice President for University Business Services, and whose area a lot of these activities sit within the university's organizational structure. Lisa Grace, Vice President, Chief Audit and Executive, is also in the room, as well as several other people, including our friends from the Office of General Counsel who contribute to this effort every day. I would just make a couple of comments and then turn it over to them. One of the things we really emphasize is that we try to be a learning organization, which means that every time we have any kind of an incident or event, we are very methodical about doing an after-event review, including people with various types of expertise that can contribute to identifying how things went, and most particularly opportunities for improvement. And then we integrate those into what we do on an ongoing basis, sharing that information with various executives across the university who can help us make sure that those get implemented. We are focused also on continuing to gather and analyze data that we think are pertinent. in the area of IT risk assessment. That's particularly important, and I think later on today, Lester will make some comments about that. But I think our efforts, continue to expand in terms of the nature of the risks that we have to manage, and so we have to be prepared for the unexpected. But let me ask Mike Anderson if he would sort of walk through our process in terms of identifying, categorizing, and mitigating risks.
Good morning. You hopefully remember this chart from last time. We have made some modifications to it, some refinements. We are currently at 27 identified enterprise risks. Some of those risks, as you will see, have been layered, like student enrollment. Once we kind of got into the weeds a bit, we realized we needed a little bit more fidelity and doing some kind of breaking out those groups and breaking out those risks. Lab safety is another example. One thing that is different from last time is we've kind of done a high emerging and average or other, if you will, risks. You'll see those that are of most concerning to us right now are things like cybersecurity, not a big surprise, data protection, deferred maintenance, which I'm going to talk about just in a few minutes, campus safety and the like. Emerging risks, generative AI, which I believe Lester is going to talk about in the executive session, and then we have a tranche of other risks. So just as a reminder, this is a slide to kind of discuss our process or our workflow. For every one of these 27 enterprise risks, which by the way, we're in progress or have completed 24 of those at this point, we do an intensive in-person workshop, brainstorming workshop, and then move to a series of Zoom sessions where we call them deep dives, where we talk about your risks. Start with your enterprise risk, your sub-risks, mitigations, resiliency, associated gaps, and action items. And then it culminates, or at least initially culminates, in a presentation to our enterprise risk working group. It's a cross-section of probably 27 folks across the university. Each one of those folks has one of those enterprise risks that I identified as being kind of as an owner. So they have their own risk, and so kind of bringing that perspective to look at all risks is very helpful. Hundreds of years of experience in that room. Audit also is in that room, Office of General Counsel, Emergency Management, and others. And then you'll see here at the bottom of the slide, one of the things that's still kind of in development is our VP, EVP, kind of executive committee. We're still trying to refine some of this information to more concisely present. We are certainly in discussions with executive management, but we kind of want to tighten that up and help their focus as we do our work. Oh, this is not advancing here. There we go. So we use, I think I mentioned this last time, we use a bow tie framework. The idea is take an enterprise risk. I'll just use a sample here. I've simplified this. The detail that we actually go into in all of these risks is much more than this. But I wanted to use deferred maintenance. That's oftentimes in a lot of folks' minds. So a sub-risk that we identified was electrical infrastructure failure. So when you look at the bow tie framework, reading left to right, what are all the mitigations, controls, preventions that we have in place? We use the technical management assistance, the TMA system, to prioritize our deferred maintenance on what we're going to fix and when. We have for power outages and we have redundant feeds, we have transfer switches, and we also have a cadence of periodic maintenance and inspection schedule. So these are all types of mitigations, but we have identified some gaps where we do have some staffing challenges on our maintenance and inspections. And then we also have some generator emergency power challenges. Although we do have emergency power, we can't, unfortunately, it's too cost prohibitive to be able to cover all the campus. So then we move to the right side, the resiliency and response. And those are the types of things. We have processes to get backup generators when we need them, dry ice. Think about research buildings where we've lost power for sub-80-degree freezers. So we need those generators, dry ice. We have tiger teams, as we call them, within our facilities and maintenance team, as well as an overarching incident management team that will help work through the communication, getting the supply chain issues, supporting facilities and maintenance, and also communicating up to the executive committee. So that's just a little bit of a left side, right side, a little bit of a sample for you today. This is also it's kind of a collage of 3 templates that we use. I think I mentioned this at the last meeting. We have a risk register as well as supporting schedules and a heat map. So this is all really information that's brought over from the bow tie. The bow tie is a collaborative document. This is really more for our documentation. You'll see we have likelihood and impact. We do scoring. We do scoring at lower levels, and then as we present up to executive management, they're going to look at those scores and make adjustments as they see fit. And then the last slide I have here is really our progression. These are the 27 enterprise risks that I talked about, and you can see starting going left to right, from workshops to deep dives to risk register reviews, all the way to presenting to the working group, and then on to VP and EVP review. And that is the conclusion of my initial comments.
Anything else to add? Good, Brad? Time to move on? Unless we got.
Nope. So good afternoon, and thank you for having me. Want to talk a little bit about myself. A majority of the content specifically around information security and the risk will be in the executive session, but I wanted to introduce myself as I'm new to the organization as a Chief Information Security Officer. I've been here a little over 3 months. So prior to my employment here at Arizona State University, I was the Chief Information Security Officer for Maricopa County for 5 years. I've been in Arizona public sector 27 years, and I'm very happy to be back to where I started my career along those lines. And so I just wanted to talk briefly about the vision and mission of the information security program, also in the context of risk to the organization. So I'm not going to read all this, but what I do want to articulate to all of you is that information security exists to enable the organization as a whole. Our objective is to ensure that Arizona State University is able to accomplish its goals and objectives, but in a manner that is digitally secure and safe. Again, I'm sure we're all aware that there's no such thing as 100% risk mitigation along those lines. And so part of my objective in working with folks like Mike Anderson from an enterprise risk management perspective is to be able to articulate what that level of risk that the organization is willing to accept and ensure that to the best of our ability we can accomplish that. And so we're here to enable the organization and not be an impediment to improvements and to the goals and objectives of the org. So,
If I could make just one comment on that, I think, particularly with information technology security, it's a balancing act. We are fundamentally a knowledge enterprise or organization, which means that every day we're focused on the development and dissemination of information. And so sharing is part of the culture of higher education. Most of the time that's great, but we do have to protect sensitive, privileged, personal, et cetera, information. And so figuring out the right balance points there to allow for free sharing of information, certainly within the university, but often, when you're in a particular field, you work with collaborators across the country and around the world. And so being able to share information is important, but we want to try to build a structure where that is done, safely and protecting information that requires that type of treatment. So that's the trick.
To the committee, any questions for Team ASU? To any of the other regents? Team ASU, thank you. We'll see
Thank
you
you.
again.
thank you.
Bjorn. All right. Next, we'll have Bjorn Flagstead come up and Becky McGaw and Team NAU. You're on the front seat there.
Regent Brewster, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to provide a update to the ERM, Enterprise Risk Management Framework, that NAU has utilized. You had mentioned Becky McGaw, who is our Associate Vice President for Contracting, Purchasing, and Risk Management. And we also have our CIO, Steve Burrell, who will also be joining us for the executive session, and in case there's any questions related to information security, just in terms of general framework right now. Becky's going to walk through our program and really provide a couple highlights just in terms of improvements, opportunities that we found to better utilize our talent and improve our communication. So Becky, I'll turn it over to you and we'll be able to answer questions after we go through the slides.
Sounds good. Thank you, Bjorn. Thank you, Chair, Committee. The NAU's risk oversight is integrated throughout the organization and is cross-functional. Essentially, there's 4 elements that are associated with risk oversight at NAU, and each has its own mechanism to report risks that are identified to the IRMOC committee. So those 4 elements are the President's leadership team, which is informed by university-wide advisory boards, risk oversight groups, centralized operations, and compliance functions. New this year are 2 committees, 2 groups under the risk oversight groups, and those were formed and created by collapsing some of our other groups that had shared membership and a similar type of focus. So we didn't want a lot of people on a lot of committees. We just wanted one committee that was going to focus on certain types of activities. Those 2 committees are the Physical Campuses Planning Committee and the University Safety and Stewardship Committee. The Physical Campuses Planning Committee, or PC squared like we call it internally, it does everything physical campuses, whether it's the Flagstaff campus or our statewide sites. And they were operationalized in February of this year. Just due to the nature of the work of that committee, they identify risks which are translated in real time to the IRMOC committee. So we are able to get current emerging risks in real time. The University Safety and Stewardship Committee was formed by collapsing some of our safety committees that there were a lot of over time that developed into our loss prevention committee. So that this group focuses on reviewing losses for general liability, auto, and property damages, as well as some of our safety issues. It was operationalized in September of '24, and due to the course of their work, they also are able to identify risks that are shared in real time to IRMOC. NAU's risk management group was redefined this year as part of an overall review of groups that are responsible for risk oversight at NAU. It's comprised of senior leadership and the risk management group, and also emergency management is included in that. Since we redefined this group in June, we've had 3 meetings, so we're moving forward with that. The purpose of IRMOC at NAU is to proactively manage enterprise risks that are associated with strategic priorities, and I'm going to talk about our strategic priorities in just a little bit. Essentially, the way IRMOC identifies risks are by receiving those risks from the committees in the prior slide, or those other groups in the prior slide, so we get those in real time, or we do periodic surveys across campus, so we're able to get other information that's not just from those particular groups. Risks are assessed and identified for impact and likelihood so that we can chart them later and figure out how we're going to manage them. We assign a risk mitigation strategy, and we assign an owner. And the benefits of the Enterprise Risk Management Oversight Group are to enhance risk awareness and improve decision-making and address risk mitigation. The 7 priorities are up there on your screen. And strategic priorities and enterprise risk management are very closely linked. For example, failure to attract qualified applicants is a risk that would impact several of our strategies, like academic excellence, student success, mission-driven faculty and staff. So because of that close relationship, NAU's formalized the collaboration between enterprise risk management and strategic planning. And similar to our report last year, NEU has reconfirmed that our top risks remain unchanged. NEU's top risks are categorized and logged on a heat map similar to this one here. And this identifies the actions that we need to address the risks in any one of these quadrants. The upper right are the highest, have the highest impact and the highest likelihood of occurring. So those require ongoing assessment. Those in the upper left-hand corner have a high impact, but a low likelihood of occurring, and they require proactive surveillance. Those in the lower right-hand corner have a high likelihood of occurring, but a low impact likelihood of impact, so they require routine assessment. And the low impact, low likelihood of occurring risks, we schedule surveillance for those risks in that category. The heat map is essentially the final product produced from the risk inventory process, and it provides a visual tool that helps prioritize resources, enhance decision-making, and track changes of our risks so that we can see them quickly and easily and figure how we're going to manage those risks. And that's just the brief overview of our program, and I'm wondering if you have any questions for us.
To the committee, I guess one thing that I would love to see the latest heat map. That would be, for my eyes, I would love to see that latest heat map. So understand the concept, love the overview, but to actually see where we are, that'd be great.
And we will have that in executive session.
You always do. There we go. All right, Bjorn, any other questions from any regions? Team NAU, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, last but not least, John Arnold and Team U of A, which is on the move from, there we are, different parts.
Last, but we may have brought the most.
I expect that,
From every time, yes, sir.
except for wrist.
Thank you, and we'll try not to define a heat map one more time. But, so I think when you go through, they understand heat maps. Thank you for taking a few minutes with us this afternoon. Bill Harrison is our new Chief Internal Auditor, Chief Audit Executive.
Chief Audit Executive.
Lanita Collette is right next to him. She's our Vice President of IT. I don't know, what do you guys, internal technology, what do you guys call yourselves?
I'm the Deputy CIO.
Thank you, that's the right term. And I have it right here in my notes, Deputy CIO. And then Nate Gar is our interim Chief Risk Officer. So our former risk officer resigned last week. So he's our interim and is brand new and is going to work through this with us. We also have Tim Schwab, our CISO, is in the audience if we need him. We're rethinking with our change in risk officer. We're rethinking a little bit how we're doing enterprise risk management. Bill had led that effort at his last location at the University of Vermont. So we've asked Bill to come in and really do a deep dive around our enterprise risk management structure. And so he's going to talk a little bit about where we're at in that process and what we see coming. So, Bill?
All right, thanks, John.
Sorry I messed up everybody's titles.
You're good, John.
Thank you.
So just a brief summary of where we are right now. There's a Risk Oversight Committee, which consists of campus experts who get together several times a year. And the way it works right now is through discussion and consensus, they highlight chief challenges facing the university. So I think, that's where the process is right now. I wanted to transition briefly. John mentioned my experience at the University of Vermont, and I've worked with their ERM program there for over 15 years and helped to stand it up. And so the opportunities, I think, where we can move towards is having more formal written guidance on campus so the community understands the program and who's involved and what we do. I think we should have, I guess at the University of Vermont, there's a more formal governance structure where there are layers of committees that lead up to communication and recommendations to the president, then of course reporting to you as the end result. There's a more formal risk identification process involving stakeholder interviews and, of course, the committee structure that results in a documented risk register. That risk register is then used to create a formal heat map. Obviously, at the University of Vermont, our heat maps actually had risks and opportunities, which I think added to the program and increased stakeholder involvement in the interviewing process and the identification process. And I think most importantly, it resulted in, so once we get to the end result, we've identified those top risks and opportunities, we would then formally assign those risks and opportunities to responsible officials. They would then develop management response plans. And then based on those response plans and the actions that they would take to address those risks and opportunities. And of course, again, that results is just a formal annual cycle where they're reporting again to the president and to you, or to the board, where they are in terms of their action plan. So I think from where we are now at the University of Arizona to where we could be, I think there are tremendous opportunities, and I think there is consensus and leadership support to move in that direction.
Great.
Questions?
To the committee, none?
No.
Liz?
No, straightforward.
Welcome as a leader of this. We're glad to have you on board and certainly look forward to later discussions for sure. Team U of A, I don't think there's any other questions. We'll see you later.
Okay, we'll see you in a few
you.
minutes.
As the U of A team moves, this agenda item was for discussion only. There is no action required. The Audit Risk Management Committee will meet again in May to receive a comprehensive update on the FY25 internal audit plans and to consider the university's FY26 audit plans in the context of risks and opportunities discussed today. So with that, Madam Chair, I think we are at a point where we can break and move to lunch.
Lunch. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Executive session.
We're going to executive session.
Yeah, well, that's a good session. Yes.
Recess. All
Recess.
right, there we go.
Sorry, yeah.
Well, then let me need a motion. I'm going to have to move to that.
Yeah.
Well, it's already been seconded. There we go. Well, we'll now convene an executive session to review the institutional risk areas and enterprise risk management. The committee is expected to adjourn at the conclusion and at approximately 12:30. Do I have a motion to enter an executive session for the executive session items listed on our agenda?
So move.
Is there a second? Thank you, Liz. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries, and the committee will now review to executive session.